There's your countdown.
How kind of you?
Oh, okay, you got 15 minutes and 15 seconds till I gotta go check on the veggies in the oven. This is Coeur d'Alene, Ephrata, and Randall. Which we wanted to talk about Coeur d'Alene last time, but it was too much and we ran out of time. So let's see if we can get this done.
Let's start on that because I cannot remember which one Ephrata was. I remember which one Randall was, but I don't remember Ephrata.
So let's start at Coeur d'Alene.
Yep, start there. Go.
Coeur d'Alene was really nice. I would actually like to go back to Coeur d'Alene. Where we stayed was actually on an island. It must have been a pretty big island though, because you could tell you go over the bridge to the water to get to the RV park. But then we never did drive the opposite direction to see where the island ended. But Coeur d'Alene is a lot of water. Huge place for people to do lots of fancy boats, pontoons, sports boats, the airplanes that land on the water, seaplanes. So there's just a lot of water on there. But the whole area was very pretty. But I also was impressed with, they had almost everything that I've been missing as far as shopping and groceries. They had everything you could think of. Now, granted, it was all in like a 10-mile span. So that area was very busy and a lot of traffic because everything was right there. But I was able to go into a store called Natural Grocers, and that was kind of like a co-op, and I found some things that I've been missing for a while that I can't find anyplace else on our travels. So that was exciting, like my pickles, and I don't even remember off the top of my head right now.
We bought a few things there, and Bubby's was the big one. I think we bought 3 things of Bubby's pickles.
We did buy 3 things of Bubby's pickles. Bubby's pickles are pretty awesome. We renewed our Costco membership. Went in there. You ditched me for samples.
It's because samples were feeding my belly. For free.
We ran some errands there. The only, I think, adventure per se that we had while we were in Coeur d'Alene was we hiked up Tubbs Hill.
Tubbs Hill. It'll be fun. She said.
It was okay, but we didn't actually. So if you, by the way, if you park by City Hall in Coeur d'Alene, we got this inside secret tip from the lady at the visitor center that said that we didn't get it from her.
Get it from there.
But if you park it behind City Hall, it's free parking. So we parked back there, and Tubbs Hill was also right there. But we kind of stepped off the paved walkway for a second for another dog to walk by, and then we ended up just going straight up this like hill. So I don't know if we would have actually found a trailhead if it would have been a little bit more gradual of a climb, but we went pretty fast up, pretty fast quick.
Yeah, it was not easy. As Owen would say, it wasn't fun for some people.
It was kind of
Zoe and Ethan
funny.
had a great time.
Oh yeah, they run around like nothing.
Yeah.
They like zipped back and forth 4 times before we even got to the first destination. They're all over the place, but Zoe loves it. Zoe absolutely loves it. Yeah, Tubbs Hill was good, and then we got to the top, and I was expecting to see water, but it really
didn't see much of
the very summit of Tubbs Hill was a little less than phenomenal.
It wasn't dramatic.
What we did walk by, I was so huffy puffy at that point, and then we had another little bluff section we had to climb up. That the picture what I wanted of the water we didn't stop to take. I guess I was thinking we'd probably come back that way or whatever, but we looped sort of around because when we came down it was supposed to be a loop, but we ended up in a neighborhood. We did end up at a trailhead,
yeah,
but nowhere near the parking lot where we did start, and actually not even where the original trailhead from where we parked was probably supposed to be. So we walked about, I don't know, 1/4 of a mile in neighborhoods, which was fun. Great fun. But also right there in the back of downtown, between the downtown strip and the water of Coeur d'Alene, there's this huge, massive, gorgeous park. It did have a dog park, which we didn't visit, but it had like playground equipment and really nice basketball. It had tennis courts. It just had everything you could think of right there, and it was nice. And if it wasn't new, it was kept up very well. It was clean, and then there were gorgeous amounts of green grass, like actual nice grass and trees. There was paved paths to walk, to bike. You could take strollers. We were told that dogs couldn't go in the city parks, so we didn't have ours when we walked through there, but everybody else did. So I'm not sure what the rule was. And then the boardwalk.
The longest boardwalk in the U.S.
Floating
boardwalk
Yep.
in the U.S. It was kind of neat. We get to walk around. We get to see a couple of boats come in underneath a big archway that you can go on and walk over the top of. Some people didn't like it as much because it moved.
It wasn't as bad as one might think because the boats were very calm when they got to that part. Somebody asked me if I didn't like it because it wobbled, but it wasn't too bad. But I didn't like it when that couple of waves came up over it. That was a little freaky.
Yeah, there were a few boats.
I don't really like water.
Faster.
I don't really want to end up in the water. There was tons of beach area right there downtown. Yep. Belle just stuck her toe. When we walked downtown, it was just you, me, and Belle. The boys stayed back that time, probably because they were afraid of Tubbs Hill again.
Probably. We didn't do Tubbs Hill that day. We just walked around downtown and went and got sushi for Owen's birthday.
Yep, Owen celebrated his 13th birthday while we were in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. He requested sushi, so we got real sushi and a cake. Yeah, the shops downtown were just sweet, fun to kind of walk through downtown. And
Truck got an oil change.
I think there's more stuff in that general area and surrounding cities to even do, or nature-wise to hike and see. We didn't do that. We were somewhat of a tourist in Coeur d'Alene, kind of did the downtown thing and walked around, and we also just chilled. Our campground had a beach area and walking paths and a little BMX area, which we all had fun on it, even me with my mom bike. And boys were getting some air as they were going over the jumps. So that was all good. That was a really nice campground.
It was. The only complaint I have about the campground, we're pretty big, and coming out, we hit a tree with the top of our camper. And it wasn't anything serious. It was I broke a branch. I don't even know how big the branch was, but you could hear it crack. And
it was big enough.
It just, there wasn't, and there wasn't any room to go anywhere. I couldn't have done it any differently, I don't think. On the other side, there was a pine tree that came up and a bunch of like flags that you would have ran over. So I don't know that I would have done it any differently any other way. That's the only thing. We're finding that out a lot in a lot of campgrounds, is that it can be difficult to get into sites, and then even sometimes getting out can be difficult.
Is that our cooking smelling, or is that their cooking smelling?
Don't know.
I'm going to check. There's a lot of smells in RV camping.
You want me to go on to Ephrata?
Yeah, you can go to Ephrata. Ephrata's on the tennis court and the driving range.
Got it. Yep. Okay. So Ephrata was a little ways away from Coeur d'Alene. Most of the driving was pretty simple, as I recall. We got into Ephrata. It was out in the outskirts of town. And the unique part of this, as Amanda mentioned, a couple of amenities that were there. It did have a pool, which was really nice. It did have tennis courts and a full-length basketball court. We didn't play basketball. We did play tennis quite a bit. And, of course, it had, as she mentioned, the driving range, and that was a lot of fun for everybody. So, overall, it was a busy campground. It was just kind of a unique setup where it was really narrow and long. We were kind of by ourselves. We had at least one campsite between each of us, or each of our neighbors, and it was definitely a lot more long-term people, not necessarily like permanent type sites, but like people that were there for work and were coming and going on a daily basis rather than being in the park. At night, you can see people coming through, coming back home, and then during the day they'd be gone. Probably one of the biggest things for me, besides the driving range, we had fun there, was that we had cable TV. So, and it was actually good cable. We had cable TV at another campsite, but it was all blurry and stuff like that. And this cable TV hooked up, and it was really, really good. And I got to watch the Packer game when they played, so that was nice to be able to do that and watch them win. Other things, we swam in the pool twice. It was pretty cold, actually. And one time, I don't know if it was the owner or the manager or whoever came up and said, "Sorry, I didn't clean it a little better. I didn't think anybody would swim today. It's so cold." And But we did anyway. Emmett and I did. So the other thing is they had a pretty nice dog park, probably the nicest dog park we've been around. It was very green. You could tell they watered it.
You must be in Ephrata.
Yeah. Zoomer was obsessed with it. Like every time we got close, he would like freak out and just pull.
We had the obstacle course in there for dogs.
Yeah. So Ephrata was good. It was very. I mean, it wasn't. Like I said, it was busy, but it was quiet still. It wasn't because I think a lot of people went to work during the day and then came home at night, so it was still pretty quiet.
Yeah, I think. Did you mention the whole perimeter was full? But I think all those people stayed there long term.
Yeah, I didn't. I kind of gave the general setup. We played, like I said, we played a lot of tennis.
Gotta reset my timer.
We did, of course, we did. Like I said, we hit golf balls, which was just really unique. It was really brown, and you couldn't see exactly where the ball hit, so you just watched for the dust to puff up. So I kind of gauge how far you hit it that way.
It's its own game.
Yeah, it was. I hit some over the net, so that they got out, and we'll never get those balls back again probably, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, we ran some more errands in Ephrata, and the new store I went in there was the grocery store outlet discount grocery store. Not thinking quite the name of it. I kept seeing it like across Idaho and into Washington. I saw several. I'm like, what is that? And I was thinking it was like going to be an Aldi and with its name brands and such, but it didn't have any of its own name brands. It had actual regular food throughout, but they really don't know whatever they're going to have in stock because it's an outlet, but they do have, you could shop there. Like it had produce and it had meat and it had a lot of it. And then all your grocery stuff. So you could randomly make your meals out of whatever was there. It'd be hard to take a list there though.
And Belle got into school quite a bit.
Yep.
And I got into doing some job research and some other business opportunity researches during that time frame too. So. Yep.
And then from Ephrata to Randall, which we didn't actually really get, we didn't stay in Randall, we stayed a little shy, actually has been my favorite drive. That was a pretty drive. Mountain on one side and almost a mountain stream or a lake on the other side, almost the whole way. And this crazy, sneaky, snow-covered volcanic mountain that just kept sneaking up.
There were two of them at one time.
Yeah, there were.
Yep.
So Mount Rainier we saw several times, and then Mount Adams, I believe.
Mount Adams was over there, but Mount St. Helens was visible too.
Which one would you think was the second one?
Mount St. Helens.
Oh, I thought it was Mount Adams.
They had actually, in the road, they had a sign pointing this one to Mount Rainier, this one's Mount St. Helens.
Oh, I never saw that.
I don't see a lot of scenery when we drive because I'm pulling this honking huge RV. And we're pretty big. I mean, we're almost as long as a semi once we're all completely hooked up. So I don't really see a whole lot of the scenery when we're driving by. But the things that I do see are, road signs. So I saw the road sign there that pointed that out to us.
Okay, that's cool. It was cool because, you'd see it we saw it when we started out that day. Cool, what is that way off in the distance? And then it would completely disappear, this huge mountain, and then you'd go around a corner and there it was again. They also had that massive, massive hill. What city was that outside of? One of the bigger-ish ones.
Yeah, it was a bigger city. Was it Spokane? Outside of Spokane.
Yes, it was. And it was impressive, this giant hill, because it was 3 lanes up and 3 lanes down. So there was space. But there were tons of semis loaded with apples.
Apple crates.
All these apple trucks. That was kind of cool to keep seeing. And then unfortunately on one of the off-ramps, there was also all these crates and all these apples that must apparently have recently slid off an apple truck because there were thousands of them.
Did Gerald like that? And the elk?
Well, I hope they take them somewhere else so they're not right there on the interstate. But then, the hill was impressive, even though it was a never-ending
It went a long way.
hill. I think we changed elevation quite a bit. And then the streams and the mountains, and then Mount Rainier. And we actually stayed fairly close to Mount Rainier, which wasn't really in our travel plans, or mine anyway. It wasn't on my radar.
I knew we would be around it. I didn't know.
Where we actually stayed, you couldn't see it, but it did prove Washington's, what's their tagline? The Evergreens,
Evergreen
State.
State. Yep.
So on the mountains and all the trees, you kind of feel like you yourself are a little miniature in this big world, because there's just, so again, thousands of trees up this mountainside. That's cool to wonder.
Yeah. Our big things there, adventures. First of all, the RV park. Really could have been really neat.
I thought you were going to say that was a big adventure.
Well,
you better
sort of.
backtrack a little bit.
It could have been really neat. There's some really neat amenities that were there, but it was pretty run down.
Yeah.
The setup was a little weird, where they basically had sites back to back, and the pedestals were in the back, which meant that a lot of your stuff had to really stretch out. So it was a little bit of an odd setup, but you could tell it had been nice at one point. It was actually on the river, which we didn't know until probably the last day or so. So our big adventures there, Mount Rainier, we did drive up into the park.
So where we were was by one of the entrances, Stevens something?
Stevens Canyon, yep.
And we drove up that ways. There was construction.
Yep.
But that's where we found the lookout and the
it was Okanautish or whatever
the
it was.
major intense stream that we looked down over and could hear. But we couldn't go drive all the way, whatever, to that summit point was because of road construction. So we came back down and we ended up going.
We went up to Sunrise, Sunrise Visitor Center, Sunrise Entrance, which did take us right up there. I mean, you're not at the summit. You're at like 6,400 feet, and Mount Rainier is over 14,000. But
we believe that's the closest one you can drive.
I believe, from what I saw, that was the closest that you could actually drive up and get close. We did have the dogs at this point because we had originally thought maybe we were going to go huckleberry picking at that time.
This wasn't our plan for the day.
It wasn't our plan for the day, and then I don't know what caused us to deviate, but we just decided, no, we're going to go this way, and it took a lot longer than we wanted it to.
Well, because what it was is that you're like, we have to go an hour away to go on this mile hike. I'm like, we don't want to go an hour away to go on this mile hike. Then we don't want to do that. So we went the other direction, and we went into the park, and then we got as far as we could go that way, and then I'm like, well, we're kind of close-ish, and so we ended up, close-ish was it was all relative because it was still pretty far away.
Belle loved it. She was in her element. She loved the cold because 6,400 feet. It was cold.
41 degrees.
41 degrees. Yep. People were in jackets and wool hats and that kind of thing. Gloves, mittens.
It was kind of cool that we weren't expecting that.
That was a bird. It just went up in the tree.
What is it? One of those stellar jays?
No,
but anyways, it was kind of cool to open the door and be like, whoa! It was like 30 degrees colder than where we'd started.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. So
we just weren't prepared.
Yeah, but we did end up going huckleberry hunting, and we did find some the next day. Yeah, we did make the drive, and we went for a hike. It was, I don't know, a mile and a half, 2 miles maybe. I don't know what it was.
The hike? Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
We walked pretty slow. It was okay.
We walked pretty slow. There was an interesting area. It was a visitor center, Cispus Visitor Center, I think it was called. And actually, they had across the road a trail for the blind. So we were walking, and we're like, oh, hey! All of a sudden, there's ropes everywhere, so that blind people could hold onto the ropes and still hike through that section. We went somewhat unprepared. We had looked at huckleberries online, but we weren't really sure what we were looking for. And so the first thing we found were actually Oregon grapes.
We were looking for two different things.
Yep. Probably yes.
Yeah. So, okay, your huckleberry grapes.
So we found Oregon grapes. Yep. True taste. I thought they were huckleberries. I ate them in the forest. I didn't die, so it's cool. I was
like, these leaves aren't what I researched. They're bigger and they're spikier, and I don't think these are huckleberries. And what's he doing over there? Zoomer? Okay, so you had to have a permit to huckleberry pick in a state or a national forest. So I don't know why I'm so enamored with these little huckleberries. I don't know. It's just because maybe we don't have them at home. And I think you can actually grow them. So maybe people do have them in Wisconsin. But they're kind of prevalent in like Idaho, Montana, Washington, the upper states. And so when I was stumbling upon something, I totally stumbled upon that you could go pick them in the national forest, and you had to get a permit. So it was free. We registered for our permits. It was 1 gallon of huckleberries per day, per person with the permit, and with a limit of 3 gallons for a year. And where personal people could pick was different than where commercial people could pick, and so forth.
Native people had their own sites.
I had no idea what to expect as far as actually what we were going to find, because we were on a trail. It's nearing the end of huckleberry season. Huckleberries are so popular, and they sell for like a lot of money. So I didn't know what we found. We found like 20.
Yeah, probably.
And it was still exciting that we found something. But we actually found red huckleberries, not the bluish purple ones. Yep. So, and we ate those. Yeah.
Yep. And now we're here.
Is that it?
House. I think so.
Yep. Okay.
And there's your timer.
There's my second timer, not the first 15, but with additional time. Okay, that's
Therefore,
it. Next
it's time to go.
Next time will be Chehalis.
See ya.